November 17th meeting of the Fortuna City Council. If we call this meeting to order, and if you'll silence your electronic devices and then join me in the flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we get a roll call?
Councilmember Conley?
Present.
Councilmember Diaz?
Here.
Councilmember Stevens?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Trent?
Here.
Mayor Johnson?
Here. And at this time, our first order of business tonight is oral comments from the public. If anybody would like to comment on anything that is not on the agenda this evening, this is the time to do it. And seeing none, we will move to the consent calendar, where we have 9 items: City Council minutes from November 3rd, Administrative Department monthly report, Community Development monthly report, Finance monthly report, Parks and Rec monthly report, Police Department monthly report, Public Works report, and report of disbursements, and approve a side letter to the memorandum of understanding between City of Fortuna and the Fortuna Police Employees Association. Anybody wish to comment or pull anything?
Aye, please.
We'll pull aye. Anything else?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar, all except I.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve all items on the consent calendar through A through H. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
I make a motion to approve item number I.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve item I. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Was it?
I apologize. Did we do public comment on the
No, we
consent
did
calendar?
not.
Okay, thank you.
So now that we're at that point, is there any public comment on the consent calendar items?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Justin Primafori, Fortuna Police Employees Association President. I'd like to make a public comment about item I, the side letter with our union and the city. I would just like to say thank you to city staff, the city manager and her staff, and their work that they put in on this, and the care and thoughtfulness that members of this council put in to understand the problem and why this has been brought up. This will get us into a competitive range with all the other agencies. I don't want there to be any mistake with the public. This does not make us the highest paid agency in the county, but it gets us there where we can compete with other agencies and hold the members that we have at the department. And again, I would just like to say thank you on behalf of myself and the association for everybody's work that they put into this, and it's going to have a huge impact on the city and the citizens of the community. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there any, as I'm going back on this, is there any comment on items A through H? Okay, well, we will give Mayor Pro Tem Trent a moment to.
Music.
Mayor Johnson, though, I'm going to abstain from aye. Just
Thank you.
I could move on to my city manager report as an interlude. Would that be all right, Mayor?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that. Mayor and council members, My city manager report for this evening includes I participated in FPEA negotiations with our HR director and our finance director, and of course, the FPEA. And I also participated in a pre-walk of the Vansel parcel, which is above Ronerville Park, with Parks and Recreation and Public Works staff, in preparation for the Land, Water, and Conservation Fund site visit. You may recall that we did apply for LWCF grant funds to purchase the Vansel property. And the LWCF did reach out to staff to do a site visit. And so then myself and the same staff, including community development staff, actually walked the Vansel parcel with the LWCF staff. They wanted to do a site visit and actually get a better understanding of what that parcel would look like and how it would connect to the park. So we have a list of things that we have to upload to the LWCF grant website. And one of the things we have to complete is a Yellow Book appraisal. We do have grant funds from the Habitat Conservation Fund to complete that Yellow Book appraisal, although I do think it's not enough. The other interesting thing about that LWCF walkthrough or site visit, I should say, is that we would have to do a lot line adjustment because we have our water storage up there, and that needs to remain city property, but the city property surrounding the water storage would need to go under LWCF protection, and so the city would lose some control of that property. It would become protected by the LWCF. So I think there's potentially a staff report coming to your council because there may be some decision points on whether to continue with that grant. We have not been awarded, but it does seem promising. In addition, there was a meeting with Fortuna Transit with our Parks and Recreation Director, HTA and HCOG, about possibly expanding transit services to the general population. Today, we received the potential financial allocation of state transit dollars that would help fund ongoing transit costs, such as a RideCo application, so you could go on your phone and book your ride, and then potentially even phone services, so you could call center services, so you could, if you needed one-on-one assistance, you could call a call center. So another report will be coming back to your city council at a later date to talk about whether your council is interested in expanding transit services or not. I also have participated in staff and community listening campaign interviews, and those will inform the strategic plan. And hopefully I'll have an update for you on those interviews in December. The finance director and myself attended a property tax meeting. Our property tax growth is pretty flat at 3.9%. We're not breaking the bank with that, so that's a little bit disappointing. I was also then contacted by some folks that are interested in the city of Fortuna participating in an Eel River watershed. I guess I would call it some sort of symposium on September 19th, and so we'll look to see if staff can participate somehow in that. They are interested in that park acquisition and how access to the river could be improved with that park acquisition. And of course, I attended a number of staff meetings, and so that concludes the city manager report.
Well, thank you.
And what is LWCF? What does that stand for?
Land Water Conservation Fund.
Okay.
They're a granting entity of the California State Parks.
Well, thank you. And are we ready? Hey, it happens. It happens. It'll happen to me next. That's why I'm not going to make a comment. Okay, so we are at the point we have a motion and a second to approve consent item I, and Councilmember Conley has recused himself from this, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. We have made it. All right, so we will move on to city council business. And the first item is establishment of a hiring freeze for staff positions funded through the general fund. Staff report?
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Tonight, staff is recommending that the council approve a hiring freeze for positions funded through the general fund. There are exceptions to the hiring freeze for police officers and sergeants and parks and recreation part-time staff, so programs like Hot Shots and youth break camps can continue. Staff can also request an exception to a hiring freeze for other essential or critical positions with approval from your city council. The freeze is necessary to offset the cost of wage increases for police officers and sergeants, which your council did just approve on the consent calendar, and those were approved to address a critical recruitment and retention challenges. Currently, the police department has 3 officer vacancies, 1 officer on long-term leave, and the remaining staff working significant overtime, up to 77 hours in a pay period. As your council is aware, this creates a lot of safety concerns, and also there's a lot of concern about losing experienced officers to other local agencies that are paying higher wages. So the wage increases will cost about $575,000 over 2 years. Staff plans to return with an item your council authorizing a $1.5 million CalPERS payment, which will then reduce the ongoing interest costs by $106,000 annually. And then the remaining hiring freeze will cover the remaining gap. And hopefully, we will avoid layoffs, and through natural attrition, we can recoup some salary savings. And that concludes my staff report, and I'd be happy to answer any council questions.
Is there any questions from the council? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment on this and entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve items A, B, and C.
Did you want to recuse yourself from the one?
I'm going to abstain from B.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, well, you want to modify the motion for A and C, and then we'll come back to B?
I make a motion to approve A and B.
No, C.
Oh, A and C.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion for approval of items A and C. All in-
Councilmember Conley,
Aye.
Councilmember Diaz,
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Trent,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes. Motion for B.
Motion to approve item B.
Second.
We have a motion to approve item B.
Councilmember Conley,
Abstain.
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Trent,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes. All right, thank you. And we will move to item B, introduce and conduct the first reading of ordinance 2025-778, adding chapter 8.45 to title 8, making it unlawful for any person in the city to sell, offer, distribute, or provide nitrous oxide to any person.
Mayor and council members, staff recommends introducing an ordinance making it unlawful to sell, offer, distribute, or provide nitrous oxide within the city of Fortuna. The city council received presentations from Humboldt County Public Health on August 18th and October 5th. Public Health shared that nitrous oxide is a health concern and its misuse is rising, especially among youth. Linked to severe health risks like nerve damage, cognitive impairment, psychosis, and even death. Local data that Public Health shared that said 11% of 7th and 8th graders reported inhalant use, initiation as early as 5th grade, and there's relatively easy access to nitrous oxide because it's sold in local smoke shops and convenience stores near schools. So to give a little background on this, state law prohibits the inhalation for intoxication and sales to minors of nitrous oxide, but there are loopholes that remain that allow for the distribution. So neighboring jurisdictions have enacted nitrous oxide ordinances, and those jurisdictions include Humboldt County, Arcata, Rio Dell, Ferndale, and Eureka has also adopted a nitrous oxide, but that will not be effective until January 2026. So some of the key provisions in the ordinance, it prohibits the sale, offer, distribution, or provision of nitrous oxide. There are some exemptions in food products, particularly if you're buying prepackaged whipped cream, and for legitimate medical dental purposes, and by licensed pharmacies or regulated wholesalers. And a violation of this ordinance could result in a misdemeanor penalty and fines. There are no significant cost impacts to the adoption of this ordinance because already allocated staff time would be used to enforce the ordinance. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does council have any questions?
You know, I've got some questions and concerns. I guess, one, I mean, just my own general philosophy. I'm generally kind of opposed to unnecessary rules and regulations when they're not needed. And I think I tend to just kind of feel that, people are should be free to make their own choices, consenting adults in the privacy of their own home. So whether they are abusing nitrous, for off-label purposes or not, I guess I'm not personally worried about that as much. When it comes to youth usage, if it's already illegal at the state level to sell it to youth, or even illegal just to use it recreationally, I kind of wonder about the necessity of adding more rules. I think I also, beyond that kind of personal philosophy, I'm also kind of concerned about the impact to local businesses, since there's no exception for food use. I know I called a few of the local, I called Trisha's Cafe, Hot Brew, and Shots to ask if they use nitrous for whipped cream. I think, excuse me, I guess my turn to, basically, all three of them have used it in the past. Hot Brew is the only one that doesn't use it currently. She says it's more because of the convenience, but she prefers it because it's, better flavor and don't have all the weird chemicals that you'd get in a prepackaged stuff. And she would like to have the option to use it in the future. Trisha's and Shots use it currently. So, I kind of wonder if, if you got a sweet tooth and you like having nice whipped cream, do we want to sacrifice that, for the benefit of some less tangible, making it harder to get. And then, of course, the automotive use, I looked at the O'Reilly's, website. Looks like there's like a $700 nitrous, kind of performance kit you can get. I don't know if they sell many of those or if it's a really important part of their business, but, if I wanted to go hot rodding in my car and I wanted to get some nitrous for the Smo drag strip, does that mean I'm not allowed to? So, I'm sure these are pretty minor things, your whipped cream at Shots or your ability to go hot rodding, but they are still things. In a city of 12,000 people, how many people could be affected by this? So, makes me just wonder how necessary it would actually is. And then I think, with the county's presentation, they really emphasized the growing urgency of the, the kind of the crisis, so to speak. I'm not sure if anyone's talked to, like, Fortuna High to see how much they're seeing it. I called Clint Dewey earlier today. He wasn't sure he would characterize it as a big concern. He said he was more concerned about, vape pens, THC and nicotine. So anyway, I think, long story short, I think just kind of from a personal philosophy and just a practical aspect, I'm not sure that I am in favor of it.
So I can answer the questions about using it in food preparation. Chief Eberhardt, do you want to talk to some of the other concerns, and then I can answer the food preparation?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. In regards to, the safety of our community, it is a concern. I've been here a very long time. I've seen the canisters out in the community. We've dealt with individuals that are under the influence of it. And we're seeing the trend from little whippets that are very small in size to now very colorful, large canisters that are clearly marketed for youth and to attract young people to purchase them and for substantial use, for party use. Like I said, we outlined problems, we've outlined people that we get arrested for it, but really what this ordinance does is it closes some legal loopholes for us and gives us the tools as your police agency to go out and address this within our community. I mean, I'll be very direct and speak not just as the chief of police, but as a parent with a 17-year-old and a 21-year-old. I don't want them walking in there and accessing this stuff. I don't want that in our community. I don't want their safety at risk. And I don't want somebody else to go in there and buy it and get behind the wheel of a car and hurt somebody. Yes, I understand your viewpoint that people can, you believe, do what they want in their home. We're not going to kick people's houses' doors down over this. We're looking to address the places that sell it. They're making a profit, but it's at the expense of our youth and our community. That's my viewpoint.
And then as far as the use of nitrous oxide in the preparation of like whipped cream at a coffee shop, your council can definitely make a motion to amend the language in the ordinance to include language that would allow a wholesale distributor of food supplies to directly deliver nitrous oxide to a food preparation facility. I actually have language that the city of Eureka used, and they amended their ordinance during their first reading. So that is possible. That is at your council's discretion, though, if you so choose to include that.
And I guess to the chief's point, with the nitrous that's clearly not for food or automotive use, I kind of just from my own anecdotal experience looking around town, it seems like the places here in Fortuna that that are offering that are kind of the tobacco shops. I wonder if maybe some compromise might, rather than a blanket ban, may just be something that you cannot sell it, if you have tobacco, you cannot sell nitrous, or I don't know. I'm not sure if there's a practical way of doing that, but if in any case, I don't know. Like, I guess getting back to my original point, it feels like a lot of burden when seems like the likely scenario is people will still be able to just order it online. I looked at Amazon.com sells it, and presumably if we pass this, then I guess that would make it, I don't know, would Amazon.com stop selling it to Fortuna residents in that case?
In that particular instance, they should stop selling it to Fortuna residents because it's not legal in the city of Fortuna.
Okay, I was just kind of curious.
And
how
I
that
would just
work.
also point out for your council, all the county of Humboldt and all of the other cities have adopted ordinances banning nitrous oxide. And so Fortuna would be an outlier if you were to not pass this ordinance. And then that would make Fortuna a place that you could more easily access nitrous oxide. And I don't know that that's something that you necessarily want for your city.
Is there any other council comments, or is there any public comment on this, or maybe point of clarification?
Mayor Johnson, I have Supervisor Bushnell participating via Zoom, and she'd like to make a public comment.
Yes.
Michelle, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for the consideration of this nitrous ordinance ban in the city of Fortuna. I think it's very crucial that your council moves forward with some kind of an ordinance as following the rest of Humboldt County and the other jurisdictions. If you don't think this is a problem, it is a huge problem throughout Humboldt County and actually throughout the state of California. I really back what the chief says. This, I see it very prevalent in the Humboldt area. Also, if you do any walks by rivers, by creeks, by trails, you'll see the little nitrous pellets that are thrown everywhere. Also, to your coffee shops, it's very easy to whip whipped cream and put it in a piping bag. That's what a lot of restaurants do, just so that they don't have the disposal, because it's very hard to dispose of these things. And if you talk with Waste Management, it is a huge issue for them as well. When they get bagfuls of these things coming into Waste Management, they're not easily disposed of. I would encourage your council to please consider the highest ban that you could, just to follow suit with the other ordinance jurisdictions and with Humboldt County. Just trying to make, a safer place for young adults. And I hear the council member say that, people have a right to choose, but a lot of kids that don't have education about this and what it does to them are following along, and it's just not a great thing. And so I think, they need to be old enough to choose, and they're just not having that opportunity now. So I appreciate the council bringing this forward today.
Thank you, Michelle, and appreciate your comments. And as far as the right to, also, people have a right to be able to drive on the highway and not have to worry about somebody huffing while driving and passing out and hitting somebody head on and killing them. So I think we have to look for those rights also. So
But that's already illegal, driving under the influence.
it's also illegal to sell to minors and for minors to purchase, but they do. So.
Well, and so I guess now we're just debating the philosophy. But again, just getting back to, I think the benefit, if ultimately the benefit is for the public health, then I think the same logic would apply to, tobacco and alcohol, or, or fast food, or we're going to start putting regulations on sugary drinks. Those are all clearly a lot of evidence on how bad they are for you, but.
We don't have that in front of us, we have this in front of us.
But yeah, so anyway, maybe I'm getting off on a bit of a tangent.
So,
I would at least hope the rest of the council would, take some consideration into the food preparation establishments,
and we figured that out, we can
Yeah.
have Cisco bring it and deliver it in person, so we don't have to have it in retail. So,
I make a motion.
So just
Oh.
as a point of clarification, if you want a wholesaler like Cisco to deliver, we will need to, there need to be a motion to amend the current ordinance, and then you can introduce with the amendment, and then that amendment will be included in the second reading, if your council so chooses to do that.
if it's working in Eureka and it makes it better for our restaurant people, I think we could do that.
I make a motion to amend Resolution 2025-778 to include commercial wholesale, however that's worded, you got over there.
A wholesale, distribution of nitrous oxide by a wholesale distributor of food supplies directly to a location of a food preparation facility in the city of Fortuna.
That's
There'll
exactly
be
what
some
I made you
additional
read.
language in the ordinance, too.
That.
I'll second that.
So we can get a motion to adopt the ordinance as amended.
Is that what we're doing now?
Yep, you're doing.
I'll
yep.
make a motion to adopt that settled
That amendment.
ordinance with the amendment.
Second?
We have a motion and a second.
Okay, so we need the first motion to amend the language, and then, so that needs to be voted on, and then the second motion is to introduce the ordinance with the amended language.
So I have Councilmember Conley making the motion to amend the ordinance, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Trent.
Correct.
Councilmember Conley,
Aye.
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Trent,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Now we're looking for a motion to move forward with the introduction and first reading of the ordinance as amended.
I make a motion to introduce ordinance 2025-778 as amended and read by title only.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2025-778 as amended.
Ordinance 2025-778, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Fortuna, adding Chapter 8.45 to Title 8, making it unlawful for any person in the city to sell, offer, distribute, or provide nitrous oxide to any person. Councilmember Conley?
Aye.
Councilmember Diaz?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Trent?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes. Thank you. And we had the city manager's report during our brief intermission. And that brings us to future agenda items. I don't hear any. So we have no future agenda items at this time, so we can move on to council reports, starting with Councilmember Conley.
Thank you. No real report, but I do want to thank, unfortunately, all the police officers just left, but thank all the police officers and the city for doing what we need to do to make sure that we have essential police services in Fortuna. So I appreciate them as what they do, and also as council for listening to the concerns of them and the public.
Thank you. And Councilmember Diaz.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a meeting with RCEA next week, so I don't have anything to report at this time, but I'll follow up next council meeting.
Okay. Councilmember Stevens.
Nothing much, other than I was pleased that REDEC, we were able to offer a loan to a local Fortuna business. So nice to see some of those funds going to City Fortuna businesses.
Thank you. That is good. Mayor Pro Tem Trent.
This isn't necessarily council business, but I just wanted to congratulate. We have a lot of youth athletes that have done very well this year. The Ferndale girls soccer team took first place in Northern California. And we had 3 teams that are going to playoffs for Northern California Division, St. Bernard's, Fortuna, and Ferndale. All 3 of them won the first division, or the first game, so they're moving to the second one. If they win that, they go to the championship game. They're in 2 different divisions. So next week, St. Bernard's will play Fortuna at St. Bernard's at 1 o'clock for Division 6, and Ferndale will play a school out of Richmond, I think it is, at Ferndale at 1 o'clock, and they're in Division 5. So wish all of our local schools good luck.
Awesome. Well, I had the privilege to attend a town hall with Assemblymember Rogers on, I think it was the 9th of November at the Monday Club. There didn't have a lot of people there, but there were people there, and we had a chance to discuss different things from energy costs and transportation projects. He specifically asked me if we had a roundabout project engineer's estimate of costs, so I'd like to get that to him, Brian, if we get the chance to get that info from you. Also, we talked economic development and the mill site and the issues with the Kenmar interchange and such. And then there was some people from Cuddyback Elementary and Hydesville Elementary, and we got to talking about music teachers in rural schools and the weird system and that they fall into and how hard they are to actually get in this area. Hydesville does not have a music teacher, a credentialed music teacher. So he was looking at that also. I also attended the League Leaders briefing. It was a virtual meeting, but setting things up for the Cal Cities League Leaders Summit down in Rancho Mirage, which I was able to make it to the one last year because it was in Napa, but it's not that easy to get to Rancho Mirage from Humboldt County. It's literally going from one end of the state to the other. And this coming Thursday, I have an HCOG meeting. Part of that is the adoption of the Regional Transportation Infrastructure Plan, which is coming up. So that's all I have to report at this time. And the next time that there's a town hall, I'm going to plaster notice of it all over the place. Little old Point Arena with 460 residents had 50 people at their town hall. And we had about 10 at this one. So I'm going to work on building attendance. So that's all I have to say at this time. So we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.